Christmas means different things to different people all over the world, but yet gathering what Christmas stands for, we still arrive at the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. Now, 2020 has been a year like none other, and celebrating the birth of Jesus Christ this year has no doubt been low-key across the world, given the persistence of COVID-19 and its new wave in many countries. Now, Pope Francis, in his Christmas message, reminded Christians on the important virtues of hope, love, patience, and tolerance for one another, especially the less privileged and vulnerable in these very challenging and trying times of a global pandemic. However, should the pandemic detract from the true essence of Christmas and how it is celebrated? What actually is the significance of Christmas? These are some of the questions which we expect our guests will give us answers to shortly. Welcome to this Christmas edition of Nigeria Today, compliments of the season. I am Dennis Adigunle. All right, in the studio to discuss the significance of Christmas, we have Reverend Dr. Israel Akanji, Senior Pastor, First Baptist Church, Garki, Abuja, and the Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria North Central Zone. It's good to have you once again on Nigeria Today, Reverend.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And we also have joining us Bishop Peter Ogunmuyiwa, coordinating chaplain, National Christian Center. He is also a Bishop of African Diocese of the Abuja and the North. You're also welcome to Nigeria Today.
Merry Christmas. God bless you all.
All right, Reverend Akanji, let me come to you first. Why are Christians celebrating this day all over the world? Seems like an obvious question, but give us the true essence of Christmas.
Well, thank you very much. Christmas is the celebration of the coming of Jesus Christ into the world as the expression of God's love in order that mankind will be saved and reconciled to God. Because the Bible shows us that from the Garden of Eden, there was a separation between man and God. And that separation continued until God sent Jesus Christ to be the final reconciler between God and man. So when we celebrate Christmas, we are celebrating God's love for humanity, God's decisive action in sending Jesus Christ. And Jesus came as a sacrifice. He came to give his life for that reconciliation to take place between God and mankind. So that is what we are celebrating. That's the main essence of Christmas. There are a lot of non-essential things that come with Christmas, but the main essence is that Jesus came, he died in order that mankind will be reconciled to God. So Emmanuel, God with us, so that man will be with God. That's the purpose of Christmas.
All right, Bishop Peter Ogunmuyiwa, just give us your opening thoughts on that question, the essence of Christmas. If there's anything different you want to add to it.
Christmas is all about the message Jesus Christ brought to the world. Jesus Christ, the Redeemer of mankind. The birth of Jesus Christ is very important because if Jesus was not born, all that is being said about him and the mission of redeeming the world would not have been done. So the essence of Jesus coming is to give us life and to give us life in abundance. So the Christmas celebration goes beyond eating and drinking. It actually has to do with us really examining ourselves and seeing ourselves whether we are in tune, in connection with the purpose for his coming. And it's the interesting thing about Christmas, Jesus Christ, is that Jesus Christ is at the center of almost all the religions in the world. Every religion points at him, at Jesus Christ, and today we are celebrating that personality that actually brought hope to mankind. Like the Reverend rightly said, we began to live a hopeless life at the Garden of Eden, and God in his own way sent so many prophets to bring about that reconciliation, but they could not do much until Jesus decided to come and then perfected that work of salvation. If we die today, we will make heaven. That is, as many that believe in Jesus Christ have assurance of heaven, and it is his birth that has led to that.
All right, let me come back to Reverend Israel Akanji. In years gone by, Christians would celebrate Christmas with a lot more fanfare and togetherness, shall we say, than we have seen in this very peculiar year of 2020 and the coronavirus. Given what you've both said about the essence of Christmas, should this really detract, being in a pandemic, should it detract from how Christians all over the world celebrate?
Well, thank you very much. Christmas comes with a lot of things, a lot of celebrations involved. During Christmas, there is a lot of commercialization. There is selling of things. Those who sell foodstuff, rice and tomatoes and chicken. In fact, some people will have started rearing chicken a few months to Christmas so that they will be able to sell. For such people, the enormity of their sales is the determination of how good Christmas is. If they have sold well and have had economic profit, then they say, Christmas was good, last year's Christmas, because they made so much money. For other people, Christmas is traveling, and Christmas is holidays. They just go to some secluded place, Yankari Games Reserve, Obudu Ranch. They stay there for a week or two, relax themselves, and they come back and say, we have had a wonderful Christmas because it was quiet. So these are many things that go with Christmas: eating of food, buying of clothes, and things like that. Now, they are not really wrong. They are not wrong, but they are not quite the essential part of Christmas. If you see what is happening this year now, the pandemic is making us to restrict ourselves, to restrict our movements, because the less of gathering people and mixing up with people you've not met before, the more risk we have, of spreading the pandemic. And so people have been encouraged to stay back at home, and so Christmas is not like before. Even those who attend church, the number of people in attendance has been reduced. So even when you go to church, you don't see everybody you will normally have seen, because the number has reduced, and then people have staggered worship to maybe several times instead of all coming at once, hugging one another, and all these kind of things are not to be encouraged at all because of the COVID-19 protocol. So all these things are there, but definitely they do not take away the essence of Christmas. The essence of Christmas is that Jesus came into the world to die for the sin of mankind. John chapter 1 verse 29 says, "Behold the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world," so that we will be forgiven and we will be reconciled to God. And in spite of the pandemic, this essential part of Christmas is still a reality and possibility for all those who embrace it. Looking at our lives, ensuring that we are living a reconciled life by being forgiven of our sins, and allowing God to dominate our lives and to control our lives. And if God does, our character of love, purity, care for mankind and fellow mankind will be seen in us, because we have received love from God. We are supposed to dispense love to our neighbors, and that is still possible even during this COVID-19 pandemic.
Sure, absolutely. All right, Bishop Ogunmuyiwa, given the restrictions that have been put on all of us because of this virus, would you say that it is in a way a kind of blessing in disguise? It has allowed Christians to reflect more on this true essence of Christmas and commemorating the birth of Christ?
Yeah, apart from the economic gain or aspect or advantage of the celebration of Christmas, I think pandemic has actually helped in really making us to celebrate Christmas the way it should be celebrated. Because the reason for the season, as a matter of fact, is Jesus. And when we are talking of socialization, Jesus himself, the type of socialization Jesus Christ engaged in was such that brought life, healing, succor, deliverance to people. People were hungry, he fed them. That is the aspect of socialization. But you can see today, the type of Christmas we ought to be celebrating, or we are celebrating, is not actually Christmas per se, it is Xmas. You know, there's a difference between Xmas and Christmas. Christmas is Christmas, that is celebration of Christ, service to Christ. While Xmas can be anything. Xmas can be celebrating of anything, and which of course, unfortunately, that is what many people celebrate at this season. But this pandemic has helped in really making us to really celebrate that Jesus in the proper way, in the way he wants us to. For instance, this pandemic has restricted many families to their homes. Many men sat with their wives to celebrate, and their children to celebrate Christmas, which is what is actually required. We are not saying pandemic is good, but you know, in everything there are there is so many sides to it. So we still thank God that this year's Christmas is celebrated, and is celebrated the way God has proposed it. And I think the best way Christmas should be celebrated, devoid of this social or economic aspect of it. So we thank God that Christmas is this Christmas. We have said, some of us went to church today, and those who even could not go to church were at home. I mean, reflecting on the true essence of Christmas.
All right. Okay. The significance of Christmas is our topic on Nigeria Today. Do stay with us. We'll be right back after this timeout. Stay with us. All right, you're welcome back. If you are just tuning in, the program is Nigeria Today, and we are discussing the significance of Christmas with our guests, Reverend Dr. Israel Akanji, Senior Pastor, First Baptist Church, Garki Abuja, and Chairman of the Nigerian Christian Association of Nigeria North Central Zone, as well as Bishop Peter Ogunmuyiwa, Coordinating Chaplain, National Christian Center, and Bishop of African Diocese of Abuja and the North. All right, Reverend Akanji, would you say God is there is a message that God wants to pass across to the world with this pandemic and with regards to this significant day that we are celebrating?
Well, thank you very much. I believe that even though we have not experienced this kind of pandemic before, the Bible has not kept us in the dark that things like this could happen. In the book of Ecclesiastes chapter 3, the Bible tells us about the contrast of time. There is a time and a season for everything under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die, a time to dance and a time to mourn, a time to be happy and a time to be sad, a time for war, a time for peace, a time to speak and a time to be silent. You know, the Bible already makes us know that we can have contrast of time, complete opposite of time. Now, what the Bible makes us to know there is that seasons will not always be the same. So we should understand that we are facing a contrast of time. This year we are celebrating Christmas in a way different from other times. Now, but the good thing about the contrast of time is whether you are laughing or you are weeping, God is master over our time. The time of joy and the time of sorrow, God does not leave us alone. God is still present with us. God still assists us with those times. So I feel very strongly that the Bible has spoken to us in such a way that we could anticipate this kind of time that we are going in, that seasons will not always be the same. But the good thing is that God is present in all the seasons. And that is why Christmas must still be celebrated, because the pandemic has not taken away the love of God, the care of God, the goodness of God to mankind. And if we have received all these blessings from God, we are supposed to also be agents of carrying the blessings out to other people. So the pandemic should not stop us from expressing love to people and care to people. Yes, there are things we normally will have done that we cannot do this year, especially meeting with friends, coming together. Because for me, Christmas time sometimes is a time when we are able to share across, not just to other Christians, but even people who are not Christians. We are able to share with one another, rejoice with one another. And this year we have not been able to do it exactly the way we have done it before, but there are other ways to improvise. I have received more text messages. I have sent more text messages to people that I have not been able to go to, and people have not been able to personally reach. Sometimes I have been able to electronically send some little support here and there, and even sent people to also go to other places to help me discharge some of these things. So I believe that when we have difficulties like this, we should seek ways that God can use to help us handle it. And I believe that the social media, electronic media has been very helpful in us doing some things which normally we will not have done.
Being able to do, yeah. All right, Bishop Ogunmuyiwa, what's your message to those who have regrettably lost loved ones because of this virus that we know as COVID-19? What would you say to those, particularly on this day of celebrating the birth of Christ and his reconciliation of man with God?
Well, I want to join the other brothers and sisters in consoling the families that have suffered one loss or the other as a result of this pandemic. I also want to think that this pandemic, there's a great lessons in it. One of the lessons is that it makes us to really be modest. It makes us to do things in a very moderate way. Another one is that it's also a sort of give us consciousness of the fact that God exists and God rules in the affairs of men. People live anyhow as if death will not come. Before now, people feel they can amass where they can do whatever and nothing will happen. But this pandemic is a signal to telling the so-called superpower and whoever that has felt that he is in charge of his own life, that no, you are not in charge of your life, and then there's a supreme being that is actually controlling the affairs of this world. So those are the lessons, and it has also it has reduced us to really knowing that God actually exists. So this Christmas celebration in this season is a good celebration in that it should bring us back to God, and for us to really know that without God we are nothing. And it's also a message to the world itself, to the powers that be in the world, that look, there is no power that is beyond God. It is God that has absolute power over his creatures. So I think the pandemic has its own good side, and in that it makes us to spend less, to be prudent, to be economical in whatever we do, even though it will affect the economic aspect of the country or of the world. But at the same time, it teaches us that there is a way we have to do. We don't have to live an extravagant life. We need to live a life that is a humble life, and then a life that will be meaningful, helpful to those who are below us.
All right, Reverend Akanji, Pope Francis talked earlier today on love, patience, tolerance, and all these virtues that Christ exhibited. Given the times we're in at this period of COVID-19, certainly these are appropriate. It was an appropriate message for Christians across the world, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I agree with the Pope on those virtues of patience, hope, and tolerance that he spoke about, and love. I want to say that, like the Bishop said, the pandemic has come to help us to be humble, to be very humble, to know that we do not have all the solutions in ourselves. We never knew that the whole world could be grounded and aircrafts will not move, and even countries that have been able to produce big bombs, atomic bombs, and all kinds of things, they were unable to fight a kind of virus that eyes could not even see. So that makes us to know that all of humanity must be humble, and everybody must know that we don't have the solution. We are not in charge.
Yeah.
There is someone in charge. And again, of course, during this pandemic, we must continue to pray for one another. We must continue to support one another. It should not stop us from being kind and generous to people who are in need. There are people who are still in the orphanage. There are other problems still happening. Pandemic is not the only problem. There are problems still there, and people are still in need of help. There are poor people around us, and at Christmas, we must share with them, because God himself shared his love with us, and that must be part of our way of celebrating Christmas, even during pandemic.
Absolutely. All right, Bishop Ogunmuyiwa, very briefly, your final words of encouragement to the Christian faithful and Nigerians generally at this time.
Well, I want to thank God for this year's Christmas. This has been a very, very trying period in the history of mankind. Like it has been rightly said that the Bible anticipated this season, this corona season, because in Matthew chapter 24, it also is a pointer that a sign of the end that is coming.
Yeah.
And so that is why everybody must be prepared. I want to plead with our leaders in all aspects, both government leadership, religious leadership, those in position of authority, to use this Christmas period. We are entering the new year now. Let us have a reflection. Let us have a sort of, let us purge ourselves. And like it has been said, the bone of the message of Christmas is sharing, love, giving to people. Let our political leaders and those in position of authority use this period to look at life in a very simple way and see that they are there to reach out for humanity's sake. And I want to believe that if all of us realize the fact that this world we are going is just a small world, and then we are going to leave shortly, nobody will stay here for too long. So I think that should drive us, that type of orientation should drive us to really doing what is right and meeting the need of people. All right, with your position. God bless you.
All right, Bishop Peter Ogunmuyiwa, coordinating chaplain at the National Christian Center and Bishop of African Diocese of Abuja in the North. Many thanks for sharing your thoughts with us on Nigeria Today on this special edition of Nigeria Today on Christmas Day, and Merry Christmas to you. And thanks also to Reverend Israel Akanji, Senior Pastor, First Baptist Church, Garki Abuja, and Chairman, Christian Association Nigeria North Central Zone. Thanks also for sharing your insights with us. And Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. God bless you.
And thanks to you out there for watching. Nigeria Today is live every weekday on NTA News 24 at 7:30 in the evening. Also catch this and other editions of the program on youtube.com/NTA News 24 Hub. I'm Dennis at Degunoy. Thanks for watching, and enjoy the rest of your Christmas.